Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is the 1021st Rome Total War Brotherhood game that I've put onto YouTube. And I've got a very unusual battle for you. As a lot of you know, we're trying out different battle types and things like this. And this is a battle that we call the Barbarians versus the Rome faction. And what it basically is that the lesser 31k factions that a lot of people think are the lesser 31k factions, we give them maximum money. Okay, and the Roman army that we fight, they just get 31k. Okay, so as I say, the lesser 31k faction gets maximum money, so every single unit is fully upgraded. But and that's kind of like Team 2. But Team 1 is all Rome, and they only get 31k to build their elite armies with. We've tried these battles a few times now, and they're really interesting. And when we first started doing them, the Roman armies kind of won quite easily. But gradually, as we're getting used to using these lesser, if you like, 31k factions, the balance is getting a little bit more even. Now, I just want to show you on this particular map a really good defensive position, and that is here. Okay, this is an extremely good defensive position, which we hope the Romans don't take. Okay. From this side, look, you can see the cliffs here are unassailable. Okay, it's unassailable here. There's no way of attacking that high ground there from that direction. Okay, if you try and attack from this direction here, you'll see it's extremely steep. So any attacking force, any assault on this hill is going uphill there with all the advantages the enemy have. If you try taking them head on, once again, look, you can see they're on the higher ground there. And if you try coming from this side as well, you'll notice that that is the high ground as well. So as I say, this position here is an extremely strong defensive position, and it would be horrendous for us if the Roman armies took up position there, because you can imagine we would basically have no chance if they take that that defensive position up. Just want to show you a little bit more of this map, the custom map that we've got here. And you will see that you've got the trees here for the barbarian woods and winter bonus, if you notice. And you've got big open plains here in between the woods, if you like. Okay, and as you move across over here, you'll see you've got the big wide open plains here. But if you look closely, you'll see there's a lot of undulating ground as well. Like we talked about before, a lot of tactical ground movement needed on this particular map. Okay, our first teammate is Brotherhood member Spitfyr, who's bought the Gaul faction. Now he's got 10 chosen swordsmen, 2 druids, 4 armoured cavalry general, and 4 archers there. Okay, so there's a chosen swordsman. As I say, I think these are very underestimated troops, and when you fully upgrade them, they've got excellent morale as well. And as I say, these troops are very underestimated, I think. And then, of course, we've got the druid units there. You'll see that he's bought 2 druid units. Now, remember that most barbarian units have got poor morale. So to have morale boosting units like druids is a really good tactical move there. So well done to Spitfyr there, because don't forget, those druid units won't just give morale to his troops. They'll give morale to all his allies. And then you've got the armoured, the chosen warlord here, like they're kind of like armoured cavalry units there with 2 hit points. And if you haven't seen a Gaul general before, there's the Gaul general there, raising his swordlet, inspiring his men. So that's Spitfyr's Gaul army there. It'd be interesting to see how well it does. But can you notice you can't see the archers? Could you notice that? You can't see the archers, but there they are, look, hiding. Now remember, the Forester Warband archers have got that ability that whenever they stop moving, they can hide anywhere on the battlefield. So although you can't see them, if you put the mouse arrow over them, you can see that they are hiding. Okay, a lot of people watching this might not realise that they have that ability, but he's got 4 Forester Warband archers there, and as you can see, hiding there. Okay, so as I say, that's Spitfyr's Gaul army. Our next teammate is someone who's called himself Mount Zion, but is in fact Scorpion King SR. Now he's got 8 cataphracts, 2 horse archers, 4 foot archers, and 6 hillmen. Okay, that's his Parthian army there. And if you notice, as I say, fully upgraded. Remember that all our team have got maximum money, and there you already can see the tanks of the ancient world. These cataphracts armoured from head to toe, as we've talked about before. And if you notice here, he's got the archers there. Now these archers, if you notice, haven't got any armor, so their defense is really poor, and their range is very, very medium. So they, in general, they're pretty poor archers, but he's maximum upgraded them, so he's going to get the most out of them that he can. Okay, and then you've got the hillmen. Okay, now these are only 80-man units. Now the alternative infantry are the 120 Eastern infantry units. Okay. But the 120 men Eastern units over the years we've found don't seem to perform as well as these 80-man unit hillmen do. So Scorpion King and myself over the years, you know, playing with Parthia, we found that the hillmen are better, even though there's only 80 of them, in comparison to the 120 men units in the Eastern infantry. So that's why Scorpion Kings bought them. But just to say, the reason we give Parthia 10 cavalry max instead of the usual 6 is because, to be honest, their infantry is so poor. Okay, so that's why they get a 10 cavalry max. And there you are. Of course, the bulk of his army will be hiding in the woods. Our next teammate is someone who's called himself old-fashioned, but is in fact a Brotherhood member, Royer. Now, Royer's got 14 chosen swordsmen and 6 chariots there. Okay, so there's the chariots. There's the Britannia warlord there, stood proud in his chariot. Now remember that Britannia's got 2 lots of chariots. They've got the heavy chariots with 3 hit points, or they've got these barbarian warlord chariots with 5 hit points. Now over the years I've tried both lots of chariots with various upgrades on them, but I would always recommend these barbarian warlord chariots because those 5 hit points really do make a difference there. Okay, so that is Royer's army there. And our last teammate is myself, Spartan Commander, who has bought the Spanish faction. And just to say, how often do you see Spain in our battles? I would suggest very, very rarely. And the reason that we don't see Spain much on the 31k battlefield is because their bull warriors are so expensive. You can't really put many upgrades on them. If you notice here, there's a bull warrior. If you look closely on their helmets, you'll see the horns and the sun, and you'll see the bull horns holding the sun. And the reason for that is because Spain worship the bull god and the sun god. And so by having the horns holding the sun kind of thing on top of their helmets, it's like they're bringing their gods into the battle with them there. Okay? And as I say, they are on the 31k battlefield very rarely seen because these bull warriors are so expensive, and on the 31k battlefield they just don't perform. But what we found on this battlefield, where they're maximum upgraded, they can be really tough, in fact comparable to Roman 31k Roman troops. Actually, I would suggest there's a Spanish general there. Okay, if none of you have seen the Spanish general before. And also I'd like to draw your attention to their light cavalry. Okay, the long shield light cavalry. Yes, they are a light cavalry, but fully upgraded, I think you'll be quite surprised on how well they can perform. As I say, they are a light cavalry, but fully upgraded. And if you use them properly, correctly, in a careful way, you'll be surprised on how good these light cavalry can be, as hopefully we'll see later on in the battle. Okay, so there's a close-up of them if you haven't seen them before. It's got the potential to be a cracking battle, and I hope you enjoy it. And here is the other team. We have Brotherhood member Cormac the Cruel. Now he has got, get ready for this, 20 infantry units. Yes, 20 infantry units. And he's bought the old school fan infantry battle formation here. Very rare to see this these days. We used to see this battle formation back in the day many years ago. Several players used to bring this battle formation, but Cormac is the only one. Just like to show you something in this battle formation. Can you see his general and his 2 eagle units are at the back of his battle formation? They're protected by the rest of the troops. Okay, and those 3 morale boosting units radiate morale out to the rest of the troops there. Okay, so as I say, make no mistake, this is a really old school, old-fashioned battle formation that you just don't see on Rome Total War anymore. And as I say, I think Cormac is the only one that ever brings it. And they were 20 units of infantry. Can you imagine the firepower that Cormac can bring down onto our lesser 31k units there, factions? Oh my gosh. Okay, their next teammate is Iberous Touro. Okay, now he's got 10 infantry, 4 archers and 6 cavalry. Now if I remember correctly, he's only got small upgrades on his infantry, 4 or 5 upgrades on his infantry, and he's done that for a reason. Okay, and the reason for that is because he wants more money to spend on his cavalry. Okay, so he's only got 4 or 5 upgrades on his infantry, but if we have a look at his cavalry, if I remember correctly, I think they are, yes, they are fully upgraded Praetorian cavalry. That's 3 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack. Now that takes them out of the elite bracket into the super cavalry bracket. Praetorian cavalry fully upgraded. That is some tough units there. They're really tough units there. Okay, so, but he has compromised by only putting smaller upgrades on his infantry. And of course, he's got 4 archer units as well for additional firepower. As we move up onto this position here, their next teammate is RTW player Barclayman. Now he's got 10 infantry, 5 cavalry and 4 archers. Okay, 10 infantry, 5 cavalry and 4 archers there. And if you look closely at his army, you'll see that he's got, I believe, an eagle unit. Yes, they were. Can you see he's got an eagle unit at the back of his army? So that's extra morale boosting unit there, and his infantry general. They'll both be radiating morale out to the rest of his infantry. He's got his 4 archers there, which can bring down a lot of firepower onto our units. And let's have a look at the. He got 7 upgrades on his cavalry. That's an experience stripe, gold shield, gold attack. So I would suggest that that's a pretty solid Roman army there. And especially with those 4 archers there, they could, in that position, the higher ground could cause a lot of trouble to us. And their last teammate is GoTW Romex. Now he has got 10 infantry, 4 archers and 6 cavalry. Okay, 10 infantry, 4 archers, 6 cavalry. If you notice, he's also got an additional morale boosting unit in the Eagle unit and General unit, once again radiating morale out to his troops. And if you look at his cavalry, if I remember correctly, I think he's got 8 upgrades. Yes, he's got 8 upgrades on his cavalry. So he's got some very serious cavalry there as well. So there's the enemy team. Now what we don't want them to do from our point of view is to form up on this defensive position, because that really gives them a massive advantage. And of course, being Rome anyway, they have got an advantage maybe already. Okay, at this stage of the battle, just to let you know that, as you could see, I was over on the left flank there, and it's one of those maps again where we're all going to form up on the right flank. So if you notice here, I'm actually running my troops over to the right flank because I'm always concerned about being intercepted by enemy troops as I'm moving over to the right flank. Okay, and normally, you know, you'd like to walk your troops so they don't get tired, but bearing in mind I'm coming all the way over from the left flank to the right flank, I'm always concerned about being intercepted by enemy units. This is a nice bit of cover here by Royer with his chariots. Look, he's kind of escorting my Spanish troops over to the other flank there, making sure there's no lightning attack by enemy cavalry on my moving infantry units there. So as I say, nice bit of support there by Royer. And you see Royer here is moving his troops, just walking his troops over to the other flank. As I say, we decided we're going to move over to the right flank here. You'll see Scorpion King moving his Parthian army over there, and you'll see Spitfyr will gradually start moving his Gaulish army over to the right flank. Okay, so just to give you a heads up on that, where we're trying to get to is right over here. This is where we want to get here. Over here, look, because even though that doesn't kind of give us equal ground or level ground with the enemy troops there, it gives us a little bit better ground than moving in from any other direction. And oh my gosh, our worst fears look like they're appearing here. It looks like the enemy Roman troops are going to set up on this really good defensive position. Cormac's coming over here as well. So oh my gosh, it looks like they're really going to take advantage of the ground here and take position up on this really good defensive position. Now we know that the Roman troops are all elite. We know they got loads of pilots, they got loads of archers as well. So if they set up in that defensive position, to be honest with you, and we've kind of, okay, all our units are fully upgraded, but to a lot of people, the units that we're bringing are a lesser 31k factions. So as I say, all our units are fully upgraded, but just looking at the defensive position there, here's some of the horse archers of Scorpion Kings there, which I'm sure he'll use really well later on in the battle there. And as I say, we're trying to get over to this area here where the ground is a little bit more kind of level there for us. And if you notice here, you'll see that both Scorpion King and our Gaul ally Spitfyr are just walking their troops over to that area, because of course they just want to be fresh when they get there. Of course, if we run our troops, we would be tired when we got there, and we could well be open to attack then if those fresh Roman troops can see that we're tired. So it's quite a long walk over to that area. You'll notice that I am now walking my troops because I think I've got past the danger area there. And if you notice, my troops are walking with the Britannia chosen swordsman as well. So we got a lot of power there if the enemy do try any cavalry attacks on our moving units. So as I say, that's the reason we're walking there, is to try and keep our troops fresh for when we get over to the destination, which is over here. As I say, this is probably the best area for us to get into before we look to assault the hill area here. Pause the game for a second here. So you can see here that the archers are already set up on the higher ground, so their arrows go further and do more damage to us. And of course their infantry, the Roman infantry, they're set up on the higher ground. Their pilots go further and will do more damage to us as well. So as I say, this has got the potential to be a cracking battle, but just looking at where the Romans are making their defensive formation there, this could be an absolute real challenge for our team. Okay, at this stage of the battle, I thought I'd show you that Scorpion King is bringing his hillmen through the woods area here towards the enemy troops. Okay, I think they move quite fast. If you notice, can you see how the units move quite fast there? And what he may well do is hide his units in the woods there as he's moving them towards the Roman troops there. Can you see them disappearing as they're hiding? If you notice there, just watch as they go. There you are. And they're all, we know they're hiding in there. But he may well move his troops further forward, right to the edge of the woods. So when we do assault the hill, his troops have not got so much further to run. They are. Can you see, as I say, he may well take those troops right up to the edge of the woods there before he stops them, and they will then hide. There he goes, right up to the as far forward as he can, but still being able to keep his troops hiding there. Now he knows that the enemy would have probably spotted him there, but what he's hoping is during the course of the battle they might forget that he's got troops hiding in the woods, and so he may well be looking to try and do a surprise attack. But that's still quite a long way from the woods to the enemy position there, but that's possibly what he's thinking. But here you'll see the Roman troops here all starting to form up. As I say, this is one of our worst nightmares on this this map here, is if the enemy take positions in that particular area, because as we looked at earlier, it is a really good defensive position to be in, and as you can see, that's where they're looking to form up. Should be a great one for you to watch. Okay, at this stage of the battle, I just wanted to show you that all the enemy team has now formed up on that really good defensive position there. I mean, just look at how they formed up there. It wouldn't surprise me if they moved up even higher onto the to the hill there. You can see the archers there of Barclayman. Look where he's positioned his, right on the edge of that cliff, isn't he? So imagine the range that he's got with his archers there. You can see here the enemy archers have set up here as well. Touro's archers shooting down at Scorpion King's horse archers there, who are actually in Cantabrian circle. But just look at the enemy position there. I mean, oh my gosh. You know, I mean, just looking at that, you can see that I don't think we've got much chance, really. And over here, as I said, you'll see that Royer's got his chariots there. You may well move them round to the flank there, above the Parthian cavalry, maybe with a view later on to charge into the flank of the enemy troops with his chariots. But here you'll see Scorpion King has got his horse archers in Cantabrian circle, and believe me, it's very difficult to kill horse archers in Cantabrian circle for the enemy foot archers there. Yes, you can see they've suffered a few casualties, but make no mistake, they would have been inflicting a lot of casualties on the enemy archers, even though the enemy archers are on higher ground there. As I say, remember that units on higher ground, their missiles go further and do more damage, both arrows and pilers as well. So as I say, a really good defensive position here for the enemy troops to take up. But just imagine if we attack from that side, look at the hill that the cavalry, the Parthian cavalry would have to charge up. I mean, any direction you look in this defensive position is really difficult to assault. This is a nice move here by the fast moving armoured cavalry units here of Spitfyr. They're taking those couple of SBQ or archer units out. That's one thing about having fast, really tough cavalry, is you can take out enemy archers that are put a little bit too far forward. They're very exposed to fast moving cavalry hits there. But I mean, just as I say, I know I keep talking about it, but just look at the position here, this defensive position that the elite Roman troops have taken, both cavalry and infantry and archers there, that we've got to try and assault. Because make no mistake, they're not going to leave that defensive position, and I don't blame them. They're making the most of the ground. Here you can see, I think it's Barclayman there with that Scipio unit trying to take out some of our archers, and there you are, you can see that the fast moving cavalry units of Gaul and the archers themselves actually took that unit out. Right, here you'll see Scorpion King moving his cheap mid-range archers forward there, hoping to attract expensive arrows from the elite archers of Rome onto his cheap archers there. That's why he's brought those archers forward. And over here you'll see that you can see the enemy troops there are kind of facing what they think is going to be the threat of the cavalry attack. There, can you see the chariots of Royer? He's split them up. He's got 3 going over into the woods, and he's still got 3 in that area there, which he could move round to the flank. So obviously he's thinking tactically here. But as I say, you can see the archers here. You can see that, as I say, Scorpion King would have brought these archers forward here, hoping that the enemy will shoot their expensive arrows into these cheap archers. Because bearing in mind that all our units are susceptible to archer damage, so the more we can get the expensive arrows from the expensive elite Roman archers into the cheap archers, the better, and hopefully they'll run out of ammunition before our units get into range. But as I say, remember, as I said before, on the higher ground here, the enemy troops have got a big advantage with their missiles. Right, you'll see that my Spanish troops have finally arrived over onto this right flank. Okay, and you'll see that they're fresh because I walked them. Okay, so they're actually ready for action if the enemy decided to do a lightning attack or something like that. All our troops are fresh. But can you see how the enemy have pulled up higher onto the hill? Can you see how they're pulling up even up higher onto the highest part of the ground there to give themselves even more of an advantage? Oh my gosh. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a good thing to do. They're making the most of the ground advantage there, but it's just gonna, you know, I mean, looking at this, okay, how can our lesser factions that a lot of people look at as lesser factions got any chance at all against these elite Romans with all their missiles on the higher ground? Oh my gosh. I mean, make no mistake here, this is going to be a heck of an assault on the hill. I mean, they're going to devastate us with their missiles, with their armor-piercing pilots before we even get into hand-to-hand fighting. So I think this is probably going to be a bit of a lost cause, but I'm sure we will die very bravely as we attack that defensive position. Okay, at this stage of the battle, you'll see that we're moving into the kind of final stage of the battle. You see we've got the Forester Warband archers shooting into the enemy archers there. Remember, all our infantry units are susceptible to archer damage, so we're trying to kill as many of the enemy archers as we can. The Gaul troops, especially the chosen swordsmen, will be really susceptible to archer damage there. And as I say, you can see us moving around the flank. Pause the game for a second here. So you'll see Scorpion King here has put his Parthian cataphracts into wedge formation there. So that goes to show that he's locked and loaded, ready to attack. You'll see Spitfyr here moving his Gaul troops round. He may well be worried about suffering casualties from archers. I'm looking to move my Spanish troops around a little bit more as well. So it looks like the 3 of us are going to hit the flank of this defensive position here. Okay, now if you notice here, you'll see that Royer as infantry are all in open order there, and that's to avoid enemy casualties, sorry, enemy archer fire there. Remember, units in open order on Rome Total War suffer less casualties from missiles. That's why he's got his Britannia troops in open order, but he'll be looking to attack them head on. So the three of us here will look to hit them in the flank, and Britannia will look to hit them head on. Okay, you see you've got some chariots out there. I've got my cavalry there, my light cavalry, and you can see Scorpion King's cavalry there as well, and the Gaul troops ready to attack. Okay, but you can see, as I say, just look at that defensive position that the Roman troops have taken. They've even gone up higher, right up onto the hill to get even more of an advantage there. Okay, and look where we've got to attack here, really up a steep hill there to get anywhere near them. Okay, and as I say here, you'll see, as I say, the Britannia troops in open order to avoid archer damage as much as they can from the hill there. But when it comes to attack, I'm sure he'll put his units into close order there before he assaults the hill there. Okay, so as I say, you can see us getting into position here. I'm ready to assault this position. As I say, just looking at how how the enemy have set up there, we're going to attack, but we'll die bravely, don't worry, but we'll give it everything we've got. But as you can see, that position is almost unassailable, isn't it, for lesser 31k factions. This is a nice aggressive move here by Barclayman there. Just moved that unit forward to throw some armor-piercing pilers into Scorpion King's cavalry. Chases cavalry away a little bit there, quite aggressive. Right, now here you'll see a Spitfyr taking his Gaul troops forward. Right, so just to give you a heads up on how I understood the battle plan was going to go. Okay, because like battle plans change the moment you make first contact with the enemy. But as I understood it, my Spanish troops were going to move forward. I was going to take the pilers from the enemy troops, and I was going to throw pilers into the enemy troops to weaken their forward units before we attack. Okay, so that's what I thought the battle plan was I was going to move forward first. As I say, take the pilers. My piler shield units would take the pilers from the enemy troops, and I would throw pilers into the forward units of the Romans there to weaken them before we hit them. Okay, so that's how I understood the battle plan. Okay, but remember here, the Gaul troops, I think, are taking some casualties from archers. So Spitfyre's obviously concerned about that his chosen swordsmen are taking casualties from the archers. But there you are, you can see the enemy troops really formed up, ready to receive our attack. Okay, so there's a wider angle of what we're doing there. And you can see that Cormac has taken his Red Julia units even higher up onto the hill to make it even more difficult for us. You'll see our Britannia ally moving his chosen swordsman forward. Right, can you see the Gaul infantry there of Spitfyr moving over? Okay, we're trying to just get into the right positions here before we actually attack. Okay, so you can see Royer's taking his Britannia troops forward, a little bit more close to the enemy there, but still in open order to avoid missile damage as much as he can. Right, can you see I've now taken my Spanish troops forward. Now, as I say, I thought here I was going to take the pilers and exchange pilers with the enemy, and then we were going to attack. Okay, so that was how I understood the plan, but let's just see if that works, because there's a lot of pilers coming into my piler shield units, which is good, which is what we wanted, and I'll be throwing pilers into them as well. But I don't think I was expecting this all of a sudden aggressive attack by my Gaul ally there. Okay, you'll see I'm throwing pilers into the enemy troops, but all of a sudden my Gaul ally Spitfyr attacks, and now go the Parthian cavalry in as well. Look, and bang, as they smash in there. And so, as I say, the battle plan kind of didn't really work as we thought it was going to there, as my Gaul ally and my Parthian ally there, Spitfyr and Scorpion King, have smashed into the enemy flank before I even get a chance to throw many pilers into the enemy troops there. And oh my gosh, that Scorpion King's general's just been taken out as well. Okay, so as I say, you can see Scorpion King and our Gaul ally charging. As we thought here, Royer's infantry are now in close, tight formation. That's a sign that he's about to attack and assault the hill head on there. Try and pin as hold as many troops as he can. He's got some chariots here, maybe ready to throw in there. when we actually attack. And over on the other flank there, do you remember we saw earlier those hillmen there hiding in the woods? Remember we saw them hiding in the forward part of the woods? So he's going to bring those units forward there to pin and hold some units. But also, can you see that Royer's got some chariots hiding in the woods over there as well? So he may well bring those chariots in from the flank, as well as the hillmen attacking at the same time there. Okay, so that's what we're going to look to do there, coming in from the left flank, hitting them head on with the Britannia troops, but the main assault is going to be on our right flank. Okay, this is where the main assault is going to go in. As you can see, the Parthian cavalry and the Gaulish troops have already hit the Roman troops there. I'm moving my bull warriors forward. See, what I want to do is throw loads of pilers into the enemy troops there, but I'm not going to have time. I'm going to have to do an uphill surge attack here. That's the only thing that I can do, an uphill Spanish surge attack. Never done this before with Spain. Okay, see that cavalry coming down, the downhill charge bonus. Oh my gosh, and bang! As it smashes into my allies there. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So, oh, you can see a heck of a lot of my allies' troops have already been routed with that downhill charge. And remember, the SBQR cavalry as Taurus is Touro's cavalry, which is fully upgraded, and he's just smashed in the downhill charge bonus into my allies there on the right of our assaulting troops there, all the way down there, look. And that's why he's routed both Parthian and Gaulish troops. Okay, and look there, you can see the downhill advantage that he had. So the only thing that I could do here is I'm going to do an old school, old-fashioned surge attack, a Spanish uphill surge attack. Have any of you seen that before? I would suggest that it would be very rare. And here you can see our Britannia ally Royer charging his infantry in there, but make no mistake, he'll be suffering a lot of casualties from pilers. Over here you can see the hillmen charging in, Scorpion King charging them in, just to pin and hold those Roman units there with those hillmen. And don't forget the chariots are over in the woods there as well. Okay, but as I say, here you can see, just watch my Spanish troops. Okay, an uphill Spanish surge attack. Okay, I don't know whether any of you have seen that before. As I said, I would think, my guess is it would be very rare, but there you are. You can see the chariots going in as well of Britannia. Okay, so pause the game for a second there. So there's the chariots there and the Britannia troops charging in. There's a couple of Royer's units have already been routed. Okay, because he had a formidable job charging head on up into the enemy troops there. You can see the Gaul Forester warband archers shooting into the enemy troops. Okay, but you can see my Spanish infantry has now surged uphill into the enemy troops. Okay, I'm going to try and hammer home that attack with my cavalry, with my light cavalry. I'm going to ram home that attack. But over here, can you see that the enemy infantry and cavalry have nearly smashed all our units that were there? There's only a couple of Gaul units left there. So as I say, we're trying our best here, and we will die bravely, as you will see. But here you can see my cavalry trying to ram home at my surge attack there. See that cavalry going in there like, bang! But it is only light cavalry. Okay, it is only light cavalry. Remember, once you start a surge attack, you surge over and over again. So my infantry will be surging over and over again there. And you can see the Britannia troops and the chosen swordsmen charging into the red Julii infantry of Cormac. And that's where my Spanish troops are hitting Cormac's infantry as well with that uphill surge attack. But sadly here, can you see that most of our Gaul, I think there's just one Gaul infantry unit left and one Parthian cavalry left here on our right. And once they're taken out, all those enemy troops can either come round behind my Spanish troops and smash into the rear of me, or just attack across the face of the hill. Just attack straight across there into my troops. So, as I say, and oh, this is a good move. You can see that you've got the Druids here, the Gaul Druids there, giving morale to the Parthian troops and their own infantry as well. So he's got that unit there and giving morale, and that probably be helping my troops as well. Meanwhile here, this is a good move by Barclayman. He's moved his cavalry off the hill. Okay, moving off the hill, and it wouldn't surprise me if he either targets, okay, the archers of Gaul. Okay, but remember their auto-attack weapon is anti-cavalry spears, or into the back of the attacking Britannia troops there. That could be pivotal. And look, these a couple of units there attacking those red units, but all that infantry there is now available to attack downhill into our attacking troops. So, as I said here, we're doing the best we can, but we'll just see what happens there. But as I say, my Spanish troops there, I'm going to pull I think I need to pull my light cavalry back and to lock and load them, to charge them back in again. But you can see the enemy cavalry are going back up on top of the hill. If they charge down here, they're going to smash into my infantry there. There you are. You can see that downhill, fully upgraded SPQR cavalry is smashed into my infantry. And bang! As they smash in. Make no mistake, I've got the general there, my Spanish, and more cavalry going in as well. And bang! As they charge in there. But make no mistake, my Spanish general will be blowing his rallying bugle, which enhances the morale of the troops. There you are, it's a close-up there. I'm fighting red Julii infantry and receiving SPQR fully upgraded cavalry attacks there. And there's Julii cavalry coming in on me as well. And still my Spanish troops are holding. Make no mistake, as I say, my general's blowing that morale boosting rallying bugle there. And you can see that some rallied Gaul infantry is coming in behind my infantry there to help me hold. But oh my gosh, I can't believe that my troops are still holding. But all these enemy troops here, look, are coming behind us. As I say, I've pulled my cavalry back to lock and load them and ready to charge them in. And as I say, ram home that surge attack, which I'm doing up the hill. You can see over here, our Britannia ally has been hit in the rear by Barclayman's cavalry. Okay, he's charging into the rear there, and poor old Royer's infantry are now caught between Julii infantry and Scipii cavalry, smashing in behind him there. But fully upgraded chosen swordsmen, as I say, very underestimated infantry. Okay, so all this enemy infantry here is now available to charge downhill into our assaulting troops there. Can you see that? They're not fighting, they're just stood there at the moment. Okay, so all that infantry is now available to charge downhill into our attacking troops there. Okay, so as I say, I can't believe that my Spanish bull warriors are still holding there, but fully upgraded. And I say, I've got the general's rallying bugle there, really blowing as much as he can. There you are, I've got cavalry. Here's my light cavalry charging it again, ramming up. We're trying for a mass rout. If we can get some of those Roman troops to start routing, we could get a mass rout here. Oh my gosh, you see my cavalry just charge in there, and I surge attack at the same time with my infantry, and you can see the chariots there charging as well. Oh my gosh, we've got a mass rout of the Roman troops going there. Just look at that mass rout. Oh my god. And that's because the Roman troops were so close to each other. Once a unit starts to rout, it has a chain reaction all the way through the Roman troops there. And although a lot of those enemy troops would have been fresh, when they saw all their allies routing, their morale dropped like a stone, and that's what you get with a mass rout. Oh my gosh. I can't believe it. There's still the SPQR and Scipii generals still alive. There are no Scipii generals just routed there, but the SPQR general is still alive. And there you are. I can't believe it. We've managed to actually assault and take a hill where there were 4 elite Roman armies holding it. Oh my gosh. And the only shock troops we had were the chariots. That was the only thing there that lowers the morale of enemy troops. We didn't have berserkers or anything like that. And you can see that we've, well, I mean, I bet all of you watching this, are you just as surprised as us? There's the chariots lowering the morale of the enemy troops there. And we just hit them hard and got a few units routing. Because all the Roman troops were so close to each other, it just turned into a chain, literally a chain rout. One unit routing after the other. There's some Scipii cavalry of Barclayman's there, ready to charge into us. But I think from what I can see, it looks like we've managed to, well, it looks like we've managed to win the battle there. You can see there a lot of dead. There you can see the archers there still shooting into the enemy troops there. There was a lot of skirmishing, I think, and a lot of dead archers on both sides. Over here, of course, this is where we initially started the assault. there. And as I say, it didn't go to plan from what I understood, but hey, if it worked, it worked. And you can see there how we were, you can just see how steep the hill was that we were actually assaulting there. And well done to my Parthian and Gaul and Britannia allies there. Played really well there. Nice hits here on that right flank. But when we received those downhill cavalry attacks, I mean, oh my gosh, how did my Spanish troops hold? That's what fully upgraded bull warriors can do. Plus, of course, as I say, the general morale boosting and rallying bugle going as well. There's that Scipii cavalry there of Barclayman is going to charge into our troops there, look. And bang, as they charge in. Oh, that's the, I think that's a Britannia general, just been killed there. But, as I say, it looks like we've managed to go on and win the battle there. So there you are. You can see, you saw there that the units, the factions that we were using, a lot of people would class as lesser 31k factions, but fully upgraded and played well. Can you see how effective they can be against really solid and experienced Roman generals who are holding the high ground as well there? And that's what we found. We found by doing these different type battles, it really adds something to Rome Total War. And I would say other players that play Rome Total War, try these type of battles. They're really interesting. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to say is really well played to everybody in the game. Everybody played well. And to get a clear victory, attacking 4 elite Roman armies on the higher ground, I mean, you know, to be honest, I think our team did really well there. You know, I think we really did well. And the highest kills in the game goes to Brotherhood member Royer. Highest kills in the game with his Britannia troops there. So really well done to Royer. And got some good kills there. Bearing in mind, as I say, we were attacking uphill. Well done to Romex. Got some good kills. Got well over 1,000 kills there with his Julia army. Well done to Barclayman. He'll be a bit disappointed he got less than 1,000 kills there. But well done to him. Well done to Touro. He'll be a bit disappointed he got less than 1,000 kills. And Cormac, he'll probably be a bit disappointed he got less than 1,000 kills as well. But that was a good defensive position you guys took up there, and well played. My kills in my Spanish army, second highest kills in the game. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. And look how many men I've got remaining in my army. Oh my gosh, a heck of a lot of men remain in there. And some good kills as well. So it just goes to show how good Spain can be. As I say, well done to Royer, highest kills in the game with his Britannia army. Well done to Scorpion King there. Very, very aggressive with his Parthian army. Well done to him. And well done to Spitfyr. He'll be a bit disappointed he got less than 1,000 kills. But he was very, very aggressive on that right flank attacking the hill. So really well played, guys. And just to say, the lesser factions there, but fully upgraded. It just goes to show, doesn't it, how good they can be against elite 31k Roman armies. Remember, those 31k Roman armies are filled with elite troops against our troops, you know, which are very often looked upon as maybe lesser 31k factions there. Oh, and my Spanish troops I thought did very well. But what I wanted to show you here was the light cavalry. There, you know, we looked at the long shield light cavalry, and I want to show you the kills that they got in this battle. If you look at the bull warrior kills, they're not outstanding really. If you know, they just held well really, I think, to be honest. But look at the light cavalry, lost 54 for 156 kills, 36 for 140. And then I lost their 43 kills. If you notice, their 43 people lost for 218 and 40 for 142. So it just goes to show that that long shield cavalry used correctly, fully upgraded. Look at the kills that they got there. And that wasn't chasing down routers, that was ramming home the attack with my bull warriors when they were surge attacking there. Anyway, please leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd really like to know what you think about these type battles, and I think they add a little bit of spice to Rome Total War.